Hope everyone had a chance to grab some pizza, some drinks. Thank you so much to you Shopify team for hosting today. And we're going to jump right in to the presentation. We have about 30 to 45 minutes of what we hope is action-packed, tactical value content for everyone. And then after, I got a little ahead of myself, but already started talking, and there's many entrepreneurs in this room who have different businesses at different sizes and different scales. So we have a little networking, business in a box bingo. If you look on your sheet, we have a bingo card. After, the goal is for entrepreneurs to meet entrepreneurs and learn a little bit about each other. We have some prizes from AC, from Dula, that we're going to be giving out too. So without further ado, today, my name is Arjun. I'm the founder and CEO of Dula.
Oh, we gotta turn this on. My name is AC Hampton, and I'm the founder and owner of Supreme Ecom.
And today, to go through the agenda, we're going to start off with a session led by AC on the mindset, how to start and scale a business from scratch, which is something not only AC has done on his own, but has helped thousands, if not tens of thousands, probably more from content, actually go through this journey himself. Then, we're going to switch bases, and we're going to run through some step-by-step business structure guidance on how to properly structure your business to be able to save thousands on taxes. We'll then run through 5 secrets, tax-saving secrets, to actually save at least $30,000 on taxes, and we'll finish off with business in a box bingo. So without further ado, I'm going to pass things over to AC. I'm going to do a very brief introduction, and AC is going to run through how to start and scale a business. Now, AC, if you don't follow him on YouTube, he has an audience of over 500,000 followers. He's helped thousands of students start and scale their e-commerce business. But I was actually chatting with him earlier. The truth is, it didn't happen overnight. So we're going to go back in time. I'll pass it over to AC, and he's going to show us how to start and scale business.
Hey, I appreciate that. First of all, this is an amazing event by Dula, so can everybody just give a round of applause for that? Thank you so much. All right, guys. Well, this is going to be the year that everyone in here is going to make an impact for themselves, for their business, and for the things that you guys are focused on. And that's the reason why you guys are here, right? Is to give yourself an opportunity to make this year the year that's going to make a big impact for you. So let's scale this year. I'm going to talk to you guys a little bit of how I was able to get started and how I'm in the position I'm in now, helping thousands of people, like he mentioned, every day start e-commerce, as well as being able to scale multiple brands myself. So here's how to make it happen. So as you can see clearly before, that was me with $239 in sales in a week. And the biggest difference between what you're seeing on the left side and on the right side is truthfully just following a system and believing myself and believing in the values that I have for myself and the vision that I had from the very beginning, which was knowing my why. Now, if everybody in this room can raise their hand if you feel like you know your why, on why you showed up today, why you want success for yourself. If you already know this, can you please raise your hand? So we got like 80% of the people here right now that already know the main reason why they want to be successful for themselves. And that was the main thing for me from the very beginning. So a little bit of backstory. If you guys do not know me, again, my name is AC Hampton. I'm originally from Kansas City, Missouri, and I grew up single mom, just like a lot of people, just basically trying to give myself a better life for myself. I worked every job you could ever think of, from roofing to starting my own lawn company to sneaker businesses. I tried like everything that you could possibly think of to figure out what I liked and what I didn't like in the store. And from that, I ended up going to the University of Missouri after graduating high school. I went there for marketing, computer science, engineering, and while there, I was really just trying to figure out who I was. What are the things that I like? What are the things that are interesting that I want to make money from? Now, that was the first step that I took, was saying, hey, I like shoes. I'm going to go ahead and try to make some money reselling shoes. I know probably half the people in here at one point in life have resold shoes before. And I started a Instagram page where I was just basically, every single time someone was buying shoes from me, I was buying it from my supplier, and then my supplier was sending it directly to my consumer, doing this thing called the dropshipping model. Now, I didn't really know what the dropshipping model was at that time. But if you guys do not know what dropshipping is running an online business without having to buy or hold any inventory up front, allowing you to take a lot less risk and being able to have a platform where you can just drive consumers to and make purchases and kind of just play the middleman. So that's what I was doing. I was, just selling shoes online, drop shipping. I ended up making like 50,000 my first year. And I was like, wow, this online money thing is real. This is like 2016 at this moment. I didn't know really anybody who was making money online at this moment. So I kind of just let it fade away a little bit. Fast forward to 2018, I graduated and I moved to Dallas, Texas. And I started working at a job out there that was doing wine sales. I didn't really like the job too much. I'll be real with you guys. I actually got fired like 90 days in. So I kind of am in Dallas at this moment by myself, right? Just trying to figure out life. What are the things that I, enjoy? And I remember 2 years ago, I was making money online. So I was like, this online money thing could be a thing. So I went into drop shipping. I started trying to figure it out myself. I, tested any and every product till I could make one work. And while trying to make it work, I started creating a system. I kept failing. I failed. I maybe lost on like 12 of my first products. I didn't even make a single dollar. And then when I started focusing on what do I really need to do to provide value to people, things started to change. I started focusing on more things that are going to enhance the user's life or make their life easier in some way with the products that I was selling. Taking that first initiative, I was able to scale one of my first products to right around $110,000, profiting around like 20% on that. Now, what Dula is going to talk to you a lot about today is how to take care of your business. I did not take care of my business at this time, so I ended up losing about 90% of the money that I just made. So 20,000 profit down to like 1,000 basically. And in that moment, I was like, wow, I need to really treat this business or the business that I know that it is. So I took a step back. I focused on the next 3 to 4 months building a system that was repeatable, that could give me predictable results. And in doing that, around June of 2019, I found my next winning product, which was a baby bed that I ended up scaling to 1.8 million in 6 months. So basically within my first year, I did about $2.3 million in sales, and I profited, a good about 24% from that. And the whole entire time that I was doing this, I really understood one important thing, and it is what I asked all of you guys earlier, is do you understand your why? Because it wasn't easy. I'm not going to act like I just had success from the first product that I sold. I took all types of losses and more importantly, learning lessons from the things that I was going through. But my why in that moment was creating generational wealth. That's been my why since the very beginning, is giving myself, my family, my son, and my future generations a better life that I have for myself. And that's why I challenge all of you guys in here that when you leave today, focus on understanding that first, because you will go through ups and downs. You guys will go through long days and long nights and feel like this might not be worth it, but it always will if you understand what you're working for. So right after creating my why, the next thing I did was create SMART goals. So specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and having a time constraint to it. So I could give myself a vision. I feel like it's very difficult for people to be able to know what they're working for if they only have their why, because your why doesn't mean anything if you don't have a vision on how you're going to achieve that why. And that was something that was very important to me. I started setting goals monthly, quarterly, yearly for my own personal self to allow myself to see progression with what I was doing. And I think that's one of the most addicting feelings that everybody in here, I hope you guys get to experience, is knowing that you set a goal for yourself and you did it. And that's the only thing that you really need, is to say, I can accomplish what I put my mind to, and if I could do it once, I could do it twice. I could do it 3 times. I could do it 4 times. And that's what started happening by giving myself a vision with these SMART goals, and then backing that vision with consistency. I say this all the time, that I believe consistency outweighs being the most skillful person in the world. I know a lot of you guys in here probably grew up and you love Kobe Bryant, right? We all know Kobe Bryant wasn't the best basketball player walking into the league, but he was in the gym every day, every night, being more consistent than anybody else out there. And that Mamba mentality is that type of thought process that I had when I was putting effort into this business. Focusing on knowing that results don't come overnight, but one thing for sure is they will never come if you quit. And one thing I want all you guys to ask yourself and continue to say to yourself is, what would I look like giving up today if tomorrow could be the day that I succeed? And that was what was stuck in my head every day. It's like, what if tomorrow's the day? What if tomorrow's the day? What if the next day is the day? And doing that kept me pushing forward and allowing myself to get to the success that I had, within my first couple years. So with knowing your why, creating a vision for yourself, but then putting in the action behind it to actually be consistent behind that plan, this is how I was able to make, around my first $1 to $2 million on my sales. But from there, I had to really learn how to scale my business because I didn't want it to just be a fluke. I didn't want to be a one-time hit. I didn't be a one-time wonder. I made success once, but can I actually do it multiple times? So from there, I started thinking long-term. And the first thing I did, which I mentioned it to him earlier, is I started reinvesting back in my business extremely heavy. Like extremely heavy. I understood that nobody was going to help my business grow more than myself. So look, every single night, I was understanding what my profit that I was making from my business. If it was $1,000 profit, I was putting $800 back into my ads the next night. I did this for about a year to 2 years, just consistently not thinking about the money that I could put in my pocket, but the money that I could put back in my business, as I knew the business would bring more cash flow in the future. So reinvesting into the business is the first step to really being able to scale. Because if you're not going to do it, I'm going to let you know no one's going to do it. And if you want to take the pocket or take the money in the pocket right away, your business is going to hurt because of it. And I understood that from the very beginning. So doing that, I was just reinvesting every night, and I went through a lot of challenges and lessons. From losing ad accounts, to being disabled, to not being able to sell certain products because of permits, getting my Shopify store completely shut down. I went through so many different challenges and lessons. But I think the best thing that came from it is that I understood how to take a loss and turn it into a learning lesson. You know, if you look at a heartbeat sensor, right? And you see a heartbeat sensor when and everything's going good, it's doing this, right? You're going through ups, you're going through downs. It shows that you're alive. It shows you're a real person. But when it's flatline, what does that be? That's the same thought process that I have in my businesses. How do I embrace the ups and downs? Because that's what makes me human. That's what makes my business human. That's what gives me the emotional drive to understand that this is going to happen regardless, because this is the nature of life. If you can't go through ups and embrace them just as well as you can go through the downs, you'll never see the success that you truly deserve. And staying adaptable was another major thing. There's so many different updates in the dropshipping space, the e-commerce space. I know you guys hear about them all the time. A couple of quick examples was like iOS 14. I don't know, any of you guys were running ads back in the day when iOS 14 first came out, but like no one could track anything with their ads. And this was a huge update. And I had to stay adaptable. I had to start looking for the next platform. Some old dropshipping products that, everybody was just selling, you couldn't just enter in the game selling random products anymore. I had to be adaptable. I had to start thinking of problem-solving products that can embrace and give somebody a better life. I then had to start focusing on content. I knew that when I first started dropshipping in 2018, I know a lot of you guys probably heard these success stories of just taking people's ads and then just running up for yourself and making this crazy amount of money. Well, that didn't work after like 2019, 2020. So I had to be more creative. I had to understand that content was the main thing that was going to drive me success, which gave me my first real analogy that I rolled out to my whole business, that content is king and that is queen. And the number one way that you'll be successful in the dropshipping and e-commerce space, even running any type of online brand, is focusing on the content first and making every decision based off of the data from that point. And doing that allowed me to keep adapting, allowed me to keep making smarter decisions on what I was seeing, and then just moving my strategy to be around that. And then lastly, investing in your team and tools. So I understand that I couldn't do it alone. And I think one of the reasons why a lot of people fail is because they want to be the whole operation. Now, I understood that there's three types of people, or three types of personalities of people that drive a successful business owner. This is a tactical person, this is an entrepreneur, and this is a manager. And you can't be one or the other. A tactical person is somebody who's willing to get into the game, get in there, do whatever is needed to be successful. They'll jump in, they'll do every article, they'll step in and do everything. The manager is the one who manages the operations and the people, while the entrepreneur is the person who gives the vision. I understood this, so by taking in these three type of personality traits, I started putting back a lot of effort into my team and giving them the understanding that, without a strong system, without me giving you the right vision, without me being able to not just jump in it by B2, without me not managing the system to get predictable results, I'm not going to help others around me succeed, which is going to ultimately make myself not succeed and not giving me the value of being what an entrepreneur, being a CEO looks like. So I challenge everybody in this room to be the person who will be willing to do everything up front. When you first start your business, don't think you're too good to not try to build out your store, try to find a product or do customer service or anything that goes inside the operation, because if you don't understand it and learn it, and you can't be the master to teach it to the next person. So everything that I did when it came to investing in my team was me being the person that was willing to step in first, learning it, documenting it, creating quantifiable data to understand the decisions I was making were making sense or not, and then orchestrating this across my organization with the process that I created, but also giving them the right tools and making sure that every person who was coming into my team had a chance of being successful, not because of their skill set, but because of the system that I was building and the tools that could give predictable results. So this is something I started really, really focusing on and doing the same with my team as well.
All right, so this is when I started really understanding that I have now focused on the system. I've now built it up where it could give repeatable results. I was putting my efforts into being a strong CEO for my business as well as Supreme Ecom and the business that we own now, where we're consulting people every single day on how to start their own online business. But I then started understanding that none of this could happen if the back-end operation was not set. Even if you're making money, even if you're scaling, even if you're making profit, it means nothing if the back-end operation is not there. Your taxes, your filings, everything in the back end to make sure that you're protected. Until I met Dula. And Dula became such a great entity for my business because they handle everything that I could have never did myself. So I want to go ahead and let him share a little bit about that and how great they are for the back-end operations of businesses, my businesses, and how they can also help you guys today. But I just want to say I appreciate you guys' time, and I hope that my story was a little motivating for you.
Thank you, AC. And one thing which doesn't come across immediately is Supreme and the business AC's built helps thousands of students, maybe on a daily basis at this point, really go through this journey. So it's been awesome to be a part of that. And something that AC and I have been chatting about, but the way I think about Dula, and I'll do a very brief run through of who we are and what we do, is if you think of the front end of e-commerce, that's probably Shopify, right? That's when you set up your storefront. They're the front end, what someone sees. If you think of the back end of e-commerce, well, who's handling your back office? The bookkeeping, the taxes, sales tax registrations, reseller certificates, getting a business bank account, filing Form 5472 if you're a non-US single-member disregarded entity. That's gibberish. I don't even know what that means, but international founders have to deal with it. Our goal is, some people might have to deal with it. Our goal is we handle the back office. So the back office of the e-commerce would be Dula. Then who is the education of e-commerce? That is Supreme. So we really think that you need to cover all parts of the stack. Dula, our goal is to be this business in a box. So whether you're filing a Form 5472 or a reseller certificate or just starting an LLC, everything's in one place. The dream started 4 years ago when when I was 6 years old, I had this dream to help people start LLCs. That's BS. You guys looked at me like that was serious. I didn't know what an LLC was 4 years ago, and I'd be lying if I said when I was growing up, my dream was to help people start LLCs. But the truth is, you can always connect the dots in hindsight. And when I was 6, my family actually immigrated from England to Boston. Parents are from India originally. They both started practicing medicine as doctors. And now when I asked them why they immigrated here, candidly at the time, I just saw the cartoons change. There was this cartoon called SpongeBob. People talked a little different here. They didn't have this weird British accent. And my parents said they did it for this idea of the American dream or the American opportunity, the upwards mobility, the idea that you can start a business here and scale it with resources like this. And that is actually our goal at Dula, is we're not helping people start companies. People tell us this is a dream that's coming true. And you heard the impact here that someone can have by scaling their own business, how knowing your why is so important. But our goal is we want to help anyone around the world, kind of like that Staples Easy button. That was easy. You can start a business and manage it too. So that's our goal, helping e-commerce businesses start and scale. We've supported founders in over 175 countries, over 10,000 customers, 6 continents. If anyone here is from Antarctica, free LLC forever on me. If you have not met someone from Antarctica yet. And along the way, we're blessed to be backed by some incredible investors who ultimately believe in our mission. Y Combinator, other notable angel investors too. We also partner with some of the most incredible partners in the community because we know we can't do it all. So the goal is to work with Supreme, work with Shopify, and work with companies like Shopify, or if you need a CRM like HubSpot, to actually solve different parts of the stack. Now, today, what I want to do is I'm going to run through two sections. The first section is going to be how to structure your LLC for maximum tax efficiency. Then I'm going to run into 5 tactical tax-saving secrets for how you can actually save $30,000 in taxes. Now, please read this disclaimer. Our legal team said I had to put this in. Everything I'm about to run through, I ran through with a CPA, who's a certified professional accountant at Dulam. So I've ran through the information, but you're not going to walk away with $30K today. I'm going to break it to you right now. If you need to leave, you can. You're not going to walk away with $30K. The goal here is I want to give some tactical examples of how you actually, by implementing the right systems and processes and structures, can put yourself in a position to truly save. Now, I want to ask a question first here. Can you raise your hand if you have an LLC or you formed one in the past? Okay. Keep your hand raised if you have an LLC or an you've done an S Corp election. Okay. Does anyone here have a Delaware C Corp? Has anyone formed a C Corp? Okay. Gotcha. Delaware LLC, awesome. And then one other question. Does anyone here not have a business yet, so they haven't incorporated? Cool, I'll come find you after. There you go. So let's start with why start a U.S. LLC. Actually, let's do a trivia question. I've asked people this at Madison Square Park. Can someone tell me what LLC stands for?
Limited liability.
Limited liability company, awesome. So we can do business trivia later. But an LLC, the single biggest reason why someone forms an LLC is that liability. It's a limited liability company. You get liability protection. Now, the last thing anyone thinks of when they start a business is a lawsuit. But who knows if a product is defective or there's litigation that happens with a potential employee, having that entity separates personal from business assets. There's a shield between the two, which means, God forbid, if something happens, your personal assets are protected. Now, there's a whole suite of other benefits. The biggest one I would say is if you don't have an entity, you're a freelancer or you're an individual. But then when you form an LLC, this crazy thing happens. It's like you have this magical cake that goes on, and all of a sudden, you're a business. What changed? It's still me, but I just have this business cape on. So all of a sudden, you have more legitimacy. You have more social proof. You charge people through a business bank account versus Venmo or the Cash App. Hey, revenue is revenue, don't get me wrong, but there's a level of professionability that you also get too. You also, if you're an international seller, can sell globally as well. The US dollar or US company is trusted globally. And we're here in New York City. It's really easy to forget that, but this is the most lucrative consumer market in the world. And having a US business opens you up to the US customer base too. So there's many benefits to actually having a business. The way I think about it is for a couple $100 up front, you get to sleep at night having peace of mind that there's separation between personal and business, and you get to feel like a business owner. You get a whole suite of benefits, including business credit, business banking. There's many more benefits. So I'm going to do a very quick primer now. My goal, because I've sat through a lot of these presentations, is when you talk to a lawyer typically tells you 11 things you shouldn't do. I'm going to tell you the one thing you should do. Again, disclaimer from before, but I'll actually give you tactical advice here. So the first thing is, to really simplify this down, if you're choosing a business structure, if you're raising U.S. venture capital, form a Delaware C Corp. It's as simple as that because U.S. institutional investors will require a Delaware C Corp. That's because you can easily administer equity, shares, and the Chancery Court in Delaware is very respectable in terms of historical case law. So that's why you should form a Delaware C Corp. If you're not, form an LLC. End of the entire presentation. It's as simple as that. LLCs are much easier to maintain. You have tax flexibility as well. The third thing, and this is something that trips people up, is that an S Corp is actually not an entity. It's a tax election. So you form an LLC, you can then do an S Corp election, and we're going to get more into the S Corp. So I'll summarize it to everyone. Really as simple as if you're raising venture capital, form a Delaware C Corp. If you're not, an LLC, typically in the state you live in, will be best. You can always convert to a C Corp in the future. You can also form a fresh C Corp in the future. Now, I'm going to talk about taxes in one single slide, which our CPA would not like, but I'm going to answer this in one slide. An LLC is a pass-through entity.
meaning taxes or profits you earn passes through, and on your personal tax return in the US, that's where you would file taxes. If you live outside the US, the key thing to know is, do you have a physical presence in the US? If you do not, if you don't have employees or a warehouse, then you don't have effectively connected income, meaning, depending on the tax treaty status, you pay taxes in your home country. If you're a C Corp, there's a corporate tax rate, so you pay the corporate tax rate. Then any profits after that are paid out to you, to W-2 employees or yourself, you would pay taxes. So that's a very brief overview or a primer in terms of how taxes work for LLCs or C Corps. Now, the best state to incorporate it, this is a question that comes up. If you live in the United States, we recommend incorporate in the state that you live in. And the reason for that is because you are automatically doing business in the state that you live in. So, let's say I live in New York, but I decide to form an LLC in Florida because Florida seems cool. You'll end up having to pay fees for a registered agent in Florida and in New York, and your annual filing. So you've just doubled your fees by accident. So typically we recommend form in the state you live in. If you live outside the US, the world's your oyster, you can choose any state. We've actually found Wyoming is the most popular state, especially for e-commerce businesses. Now, process and timeline, last overview here for formation steps. Forming an LLC, you need a couple pieces of information. You then submit that to the state. The state is actually then going to form your entity and send you back a certificate of incorporation or an articles of organization. That process typically takes a few business days. It depends on the state. After that, you can then get this thing called an EIN, an employer identification number, which is required to get a bank account. Once you then have your business bank account, you can then get a payment processor. You can then set yourself up with something like Shopify payments as well. Deposits can go there. Overall, the entire process, if you're a US citizen living in the US, can typically take a week or two. If you live outside the US, unfortunately, we're in the year 2025, we almost have flying cars. You still have to fax a form to the IRS to get your EIN number. So it can take up to 2 months. So for any non-US residents, the best time to start an LLC was 2 months ago. I hate to break it to you. Second best time is today. Same thing goes for many things in life. That was a rapid primer on formation. Now, we're going to get tactical. I'm going to give you guys 5 tax-saving secrets for how you can actually save $30,000 or more. Now, I actually want to give a brief story of why this number 30,000 is so seared into my brain. Before Dula, there was actually a couple businesses that didn't work. I really like this heartbeat analogy of you're moving, you're going up, you're going down. So it was very much down. The businesses weren't working, but the ideas were slowly getting better. The first idea was this social fitness app. I thought, hey, if I want to go on a run with someone, let's use this app to coordinate a workout. Terrible idea. People just text each other, and they like to post their pictures on Instagram because people are on Instagram. That business didn't work. The next idea was let's create this Twitter competitor where you can post ideas of your favorite things. Well, shocker, people post their favorite things on Twitter, not my app. That idea didn't work. The third idea, we actually got into Y Combinator, which is one of the most prestigious accelerators in the world. The idea, COVID had just hit. I have colleagues in Japan, 12-hour time zone difference. What if I could post a Snapchat or Instagram story instead of going on a Zoom call? We can skip the Zoom call, stories are fun, what could go wrong? Turns out not everyone has what it takes to get to 500,000 followers on YouTube or even likes being on video. People do not like being on video and people wanted real-time connection. So people were actively churning. That idea didn't work. So now we're sitting here. We deferred demo day thinking, what are we going to build? And the one thing I knew, or I thought I knew, is I'm going to have to pay $30,000 in compliance to get this business set up. Because that's actually what I did. I'm kind of embarrassed to say it. When I tell the story, some people just look at me. They either feel bad or they say, how did you not realize it was $30,000? It creeps up on you. The formation costs this much. The lawyer said it costs this much. They charge $1,400 per hour. Bookkeeper over here, accountant over here, and I knew nothing about write-offs. So we're going to run through these things. I want to just share this education for the things that I didn't know so that you can learn some of them. And I think the overall takeaway, an ounce of preparation is worth a pound of the cure. So please, it's better late than never. If you haven't set things up properly or structured things, it's not too late to do it. Tax saving secret number 1, the S-Corp election. So I'm going to give an Explain Like I'm 5 primer here. I love this subreddit. Explain Like I'm 5. This is how I explain the S-Corp election to a 5-year-old. So the first thing, remember, you form an LLC or C-Corp, you elect to be taxed as an S-Corp. The S-Corp election is only possible for U.S. citizens or residents. Okay, so let's say you're a U.S. citizen or resident, you're eligible for the S-Corp election. Quick primer in the U.S. is a progressive tax system, meaning depending on how much you make, you're incrementally taxed. There's just personal income tax, there's a state tax depending on the state you live in. So I'm going to use an example today for someone living in New York, and let's say their effective tax rate is 22%. Just going to use that as an example. So I'm using this as the example. You live in New York, you have to remember there's a personal income tax. Okay, here's the magic. I have a business, I have an S-Corp, it's on Shopify, it's an e-commerce business, and I'm making $75,000 in profit. Congratulations, that's incredible, $75,000. Now, on the left is if you have the S-Corp election. Sorry, on the right is the S-Corp election, on the left is the doubt. If you do not have an S-Corp, there's this thing called self-employment tax, so there's no concept of a salary. Everything is passed. But if you make the S-Corp election, what's happening behind the scenes is it's creating this employee-employer relationship. So all of a sudden, you now pay yourself this reasonable salary, which is typically 60% of the profit, and the remaining 40% is the distribution. So now this is where the magic happens. In the US, there's this thing called a self-employment tax rate. With the S-Corp election, that tax rate actually only applies to the salary. So 15.3% of the 40K salary versus 15.3% of all of that 75K. So that means your self-employment tax right away has been slashed by several $1,000s. Now, to give the complete picture, the next thing is you can then take that as a deduction on your personal income taxes, so your adjusted net income. You then apply that 22%, so this is getting incredibly thorough. Your total tax liability comes out to actually a little over $4,000 less with the S-Corp election. Now, some of you might be thinking, wait a second, doesn't that mean if I'm making more money, the savings would be higher? Yeah. So in this case here, I'm using a different example. This is someone whose business did $1 million in net income. Your adjusted or your effective tax rate goes up, but simply the S-Corp election allows you to pay a smaller amount of taxes on that self-employment rate. It's going to your salary, which is now about 60%, versus the full portion. So the overall thing I want to share here, again, a disclaimer, please review this with a CPA for your specific business. But the S-Corp election, just simply knowing I'm a U.S. citizen, my business is starting to approach $75,000, there's significant savings I can make from this election. Now, the last thing I'll say is with the S-Corp election, the reason why you don't typically do it earlier is there are some administrative costs. You have to set up payroll. There's also just the cost of going and doing these calculations, maybe hiring a CPA. So the final guidance I would give is as you're approaching $50,000 to $75,000 in net income, that's typically a good time for the S-Corp election.
Yeah, I'm not going to lie. I didn't get started with it right away, but once I started filing my business about 2-3 years ago with the S-Corp, it really changed a lot with the amount of money that I was saving. And honestly, the biggest difference between like anyone who owns an LLC versus anyone who's an employee is, at the end of the day, we're making revenue, we're paying our expenses off, and then we're paying taxes off of that. Instead of making your money, paying taxes on that, and then spending the rest that you can on your expenses. That was the biggest thing that was a difference for me is I'm now able to be an employee of Supreme Ecom. So I have my own salary. I get paid on W-2. And at the end of the year, I'm able to write that off from my business at the same time being able to file taxes for myself personally. So the S-Corp election will go a long way for you to be able to put yourself and your business in a better position.
Tax secret 1. Tax secret number 2, the home office deduction. I didn't know this existed. There were years when I didn't even utilize this, so please, if you work from home, utilize this. The overall takeaway here is that you can actually, if you work from home or use a portion of your office for your business, you can actually deduct that. So there's a lot of information here. The simplified method is actually $5 per square foot up to a max of 300 square feet. There's actually a more concrete method you can do the actual expense method. So that's actually the slide here, is if you work from home and you use part of your home space for office, keep this in mind. Now, as an example here, let's say you're able to actually portion away $500 per month on rent and utilities for literally working from home at your home office. That's up to $6,000 annually. Again, if you make profits, I want to keep those profits versus paying the taxes to the IRS. Again, this isn't a loophole, this is knowledge, and I want people to be able to take advantage of that. So that's tax saving secret number 2, the home office deduction.
And I'll tell you guys, you don't have to have a home office either. You just have to have a home. When I first started doing a home office deduction, I'm writing off my living room because I work on the couch in my living room. As long as I can get up to 300 square feet, that was all I was working towards. So take that in consideration. That doesn't matter if you own a house, rent it, anything. If you don't have an office in there, you could still be able to do this as long as you just work inside of that unit.
Number 3, tax saving secret number 3, education and training expenses. This is wild to me, but I love that this exists. You can actually write off investments in improving yourself, which is the single most valuable asset right here, your brain and your health. So courses, conferences, workshops, educational material to improve your business, those can actually be a deductible expense. So an example here is if you go to 2 conferences related to your business, you buy some online courses and materials, you spend $5,000 on them, that could be a potential deduction. So that is the secret here, is you can invest in yourself. And yes, it's an expense, but I view it as an investment. You can save up to $5,000 here.
And for everybody who here is not from New York, you guys spend money to get here, so that could also be a part of that, right? So even for myself personally, like I have a goal for myself every year. I always buy one course or one mentorship every year, no matter what. I've been doing it for like 5 years. I always believe in the power of knowledge, and I believe that if I can do it for free, why wouldn't I? If any of you guys could do it for free, you would too. But this having this S Corp and being able to do it in the way that he's saying, this is how you're able to continue to invest in yourself without having to spend money to do so.
I will also plug or say that, let's say you are looking to learn how to start an e-commerce business or start dropshipping too. Supreme Ecom has an incredible course, hundreds of modules. That would be an example of an education and training expense to level up your business.
Hey, we will give you guys a free write-off. Don't worry. We got you guys. I promise.
Tax saving secret number 4, deducting business startup costs. I actually get a little bit upset whenever I share this because ironically, Doula helps many people start businesses. We didn't even do this when we started. So that's me being candid with y'all. I get a little upset when I show this, but we'll show you. You can deduct up to $5,000 in startup costs and organizational costs in the first year of your business. That actually means when you form a company, for example, with Doula or with anyone, that cost itself can be a potential deduction. So I love that. Again, there's an incentive here to actually start companies, to create entrepreneurs in the US. That's fantastic. Just for the education here, remember, those initial organizational costs. Maybe you do a consultant call, you talk with a trademark lawyer, you use a service to set up your company. Those types of things can be deducted. So up to $10,000 there, that's tax saving secret number 4.
And I'll give you guys a quick little backstory. I promise you, I wish I was at this event when I first started my business because I had no idea about this. And the whole first year that I ran my business, I ran an e-commerce business without a laptop. I know it sounds crazy, but I didn't have money to afford a laptop. So I was going to the public library every day, using all their computers and everything inside, until my CPA called me. He's like, you know, you can write off a full laptop and just get one, even if you don't have the money. Like, it's December, you're going to file taxes next month, just go get one. And literally before I had the money, I was able to write it off literally the next month and save myself on those business startup costs. So it's technology, it's equipment, it's getting the LLC, anything that involves getting your business started, you can be able to deduct that off.
And lastly, perfect transition, tax saving secret number 5 is technology and software deduction. So I want to explicitly call this one out too. Tools and software that you use to run your business can be used as deductions. So, for example, if your business includes creating content to acquire customers, or the software you use for your CRM or Shopify to run your business, those are all deductions you can take advantage of. So in this example here, a laptop, couple subscriptions, that could be $4,000 per year. It actually might be well more depending on the size or scale of your business. So as AC said, please, if you have these things, take advantage of them. You could save up to $4K a year.
And don't be afraid to get nice equipment for yourself, right? Like if you know that you need to get an upgrade and it's going to help your business thrive, or if you get a new camera and the actual quality of what you're putting out is going to help your business grow, this is the type of opportunities that an LLC can do for you without you feeling like you have to come out of pocket to do so. So don't be afraid to invest in yourselves, but also the technology that can give you success, because all that is being able to be written off at the end of the year.
In summary, to wrap things up together, if we bring it all together, we talked about the S-Corp election, potential home office, education, startup costs, and technology. That alone can be at least $30,000. I know everything might not apply, but the truth is, we only had about 45 minutes today. There's a lot more we didn't cover. I'll run through some of my favorites here. You can actually hire your own kit, and you can save taxes based on that too.
Yeah, I do. I just did that for the first time last year, so shout out to Saint.
There we go. Next time we'll add a slide on that specifically. Health insurance, retirement contributions, there's meals, there's travel too. There's actually a lot more you can do. So here's what I would recommend. I actually just went through and tried to learn as many of these as possible, but this is where a CPA can help you. But the final piece of advice I would give here is the ultimate recommendation for actually taking advantage of these deductions is you need to know they exist in a certain place, and ideally outside of your head. So bookkeeping is the answer here. Literally just keeping track of your transactions. Now, I would highly advise against this, but please at least use a spreadsheet. So don't use your head. Your head's got a lot of things your head needs to be using to build your business. At least use a spreadsheet and keep track of things there. That is exponentially better than doing nothing. Or you can use an actual bookkeeping solution. So we have a bookkeeping solution. I won't be offended if you use something else. Please, use something else over the spreadsheet, over doing nothing at all. But that is the single biggest thing. Now, I will say, if you started a business and you haven't been doing this, the best time to plant a tree was 20 years ago, second best time is today. So the same thing for bookkeeping. Please plant that tree and start using some solution. There's lots of automated solutions. Final tips to wrap up here. I want to give just a couple compliance tips because something that I think is really important is having peace of mind so you can focus on growing your business and not worrying that the back office is out of whack. 4 things to keep in mind as a business owner. First, if you're starting in the new year or starting this year, there's this thing called the BOI, Beneficial Ownership Interest Filing, which is due within 30 days of incorporation. There has been a lot of legal back and forth on whether or not this will be upheld, but for now, there's this BOI filing requirement. The next trifecta is at the state level, at the federal level, and then internally through your company with bookkeeping. State compliance, depending on the state, there might typically be an annual filing you have to do. That could be called the Wyoming Annual Report or the Delaware Franchise Deed. So stay compliant with the state. You don't want fines to rack up there. You then have the federal level. So again, with an LLC, it's pass-through. If you have the S-Corp election, there's a 1020-S of filing you'll have to do. If you're a C-Corp, there's an 1120 filing for that. Depending on your filing, stay compliant at the federal level. The final piece is bookkeeping. Really what bookkeeping is, and I'll admit this now, I didn't really know what it was until a few years ago. Bookkeeping was just keeping your books in order so that tax season's a breeze, and so you can take advantage of specific deductions and write-offs. So it makes your life easier. It means you don't have to pay a CPA to do catch-up bookkeeping. Please use a spreadsheet at least. If you don't, there's plenty of automated software out there too as well. Finally, in terms of avoiding non-compliance, I'll say it one more time, an ounce of preparation is a pound of the cure. So this might be overwhelming. I really tried to boil it down, but the single biggest thing here is just start simple, keep records. If you aren't using a business bank account, get one set up so you can at least start separating things, and getting set up earlier rather than later will help avoid a ton of headaches down the line. The last thing is, please do talk to a tax professional. We are happy to offer folks here a consultation with a CPA if you want to double check your business structure. If you live outside the US, talk to a tax professional in your country. But really, just that one conversation can give you a ton of peace of mind. So with that, we ran through how to start and scale an e-commerce business. We ran through business structure, optimal setup. We ran through 5 tax-saving secrets. What we really want to do now is there are a ton of entrepreneurs in this room. We saw a lot of hands raised for Shopify businesses. I want to hear a lot of people's whys as well. So we're going to run through the next part here, which is business in a box bingo.